Yeah.
Right?
Is that better?
Then you see, it's a manifestation on the mat. What we do technique-wise and behavior-wise is literally just a little microcosm of what that principle is about. And when the exchange is right and somebody's blending with the energy, you see it. And we saw a lot of those outcomes in those tests. And the opposite is true too. When it's not quite there, if the connection is not there, or the mindfulness is not there, the presence is not there, you see that too. And then the outcome's a little shaky, right? But that's the cool thing about practice, is you get to see the results immediately. And sometimes in our lives, the results are further out, and by the time you see the result of the interaction, if it's not good, it's not good. Here, it's a controlled environment, right? It's a safe space. We like to emphasize that a lot when we practice. It's a safe space for us to be vulnerable with one another, because we're all traveling that path of trying to figure out how can we be our best selves, right? That's what it's about. That's why we do discipline. How can we be our best selves? And that's the internalization part. That's where it comes out, is if your fears will show up on the mat.
It will show up.
Your joys will show up on the mat, right? Your anxieties will show up on the mat. All of those things will show up. But, especially with a stress test, and that's the beauty of exams, it's kind of a little mini stress test. That's when we see, is it natural for you, or what is natural for you? Is it internalized or not? And it's not about a judgment, though. We're not making judgments. When the panel is up here and we make comments on things, we're not making judgments, right? We're making observations. And the observation is for improvement. Because if we were out here being critiqued, which all of us have been many, many times, now we're being critiqued, and the point is to make it, to help us improve each other, right, along the way. So the internalization part is, am I mindful of this spirit? I've been reading a lot lately about brain versus the mind, right? And of course, without a brain, there's not a whole lot of mentalization that's going to go on. On the other hand, we're more than the physical gray matter processes than we have, right? The mind is a reflection on the brain. It's the brain thinking about itself, which is another mystical kind of process thing, right? It's above that. Somehow it's above. Nobody gets it. I don't know that we need to get it. The point is we need to be aware of it. And what does that mean? Because that's what makes us who we are. And like the soft gaze thing, this is where you start to see transcendence. Like, whoa, there's something going on here that is bigger than just angles and leverage and that kind of thing, right? So that's the beauty of Aikido. We get to see all of that stuff play out in a very small space.
Yeah, soft gaze, because if you did a hard stare, you couldn't move fast enough. If you stare real hard. So we say, open up, expand, and watch what happens. You can feel energy all around you. You will respond. You will respond. And all these techniques that you learned will come out of you without thinking. It's a great feeling because it feels like meditation. It feels effortless. It feels everything that we should feel, that we don't feel when we're practicing technique. Everything comes out the way the timing, everything. It's a wonderful feeling to have that. So there's no fears when you're doing it. There's no mistakes. Everything, you're at the right place at the right time. You saw Akira do it. She was just walking. She's moving right before the energy committed to her. Everything. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. I might be selfish, but I love to watch my students do soft gaze because it's different every single time. But it's so good for you. It's good for the mind, body, spirit connection. Why? Because we're not in fear. There is no insecurity. There's nothing. Everybody's pretty equal when you're doing this. doesn't matter what rank you are, when you start practicing this, you get a taste of, oh, this is what Aikido could feel like. And that's why I started early on, because when you get overwhelmed, you're stepping on the mat, they say, okay, you have to have expansion, you have to move from your center. You don't even know, you're not even connected to your center when you first start. You only hear them saying, yeah, but how do I get there? How come it happens sometimes, and a lot of times, I don't connect? When do I turn my head? Do I follow the uke down when I turn them down? Sun, sheen, all this, extension, shodo, seiso. Wow, you're inundated by this whole thing that you have to learn. You can't even move. You can't even move. So it's a process of learning, and as you learn, and then you let go. You let go, you do the soft gaze, everything's there. And that's the beauty of it. So how would you practice this, you think, in everyday life? How could you use that?
Well, I mean, life is about relationships, right?
Exactly.
So,
Everything you relate
so
to is a relationship.
if we're on the mat together, you're in relationship now. And so you're modeling something when you're on the mat. When you're off the mat and you're encountering someone, you're in relationship. Well, but those same principles hold. Am I just going to go attack this person, right? Am I going to allow myself to be attacked? Or if I'm being attacked, am I going to come back, yang? Doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not natural. It's not normal. So all of those kind of principles, you're being attacked verbally. You don't have to be a doormat. You don't have to take it, right? You don't have to stay in the line of fire. But you also don't have to retaliate, right? You blend, you deflect, right? You harmonize, you bring it back into balance. That's the key. And so also with the everyday life, off the mat, we love, sometimes when we're on the mat, we love to think about stuff on the mat. Wrong. Because here's what's happening. Literally, in the brain cannot make the proper neural connections it needs to make when you're engaged in thought. It needs to just, you need to allow it to happen. And the redundancy, the repetition, is when all of those connections are made. And they form, when they form properly, then later you can ponder it and think about it and say, and you'll notice that your perception is changing. And so one thing in everyday life is to take time out to just be still and quiet.
Good point.
Be still and quiet. One of the best gifts I ever got, now I'm going to put her on the spot, one of the best gifts I ever got. I randomly get this card in the mail, and the only reason I knew who it was from is because her name was on it, because there was no writing. It's a greeting card, but it has all of these word cloud kind of weird background noise in faded print in the back, and in bold letters it says, "Be still." And it's a greeting card, and I framed it, and it sits in my office on my desk, and I look at it every day. Because all the different noise that's coming in, sometimes we gotta be reminded to be still. And then sometimes you have to practice being still. You have to be intentional. It's another thing that we do here. It's intentional. You have to be intentional about mindfulness. You've gotta be intentional about it. When you're getting ready for the exam, you practice, right? Because you wanna be prepared. When we're getting ready for life, you have to practice. Sometimes that just means being quiet and being still.
So, how did I get that card? On Facebook, I can't even think of her name, who created that card, knew that I was teaching Aikido. She must have looked it up, but I go to her website a lot. And then I get something in the mail, and I get like 5 or 6 of these cards. But it talks about, it's like he said, all these thoughts in the background, all these insecurities come out. Yeah, but what if I can't do this or that? And then you go back to the center, it says, be still. But what if this doesn't work? Or how about that? All this fear comes out, all the distractions, which hold us back from growing, Drama and distractions in life are what keep pulling us down. Fear, all fear-based, really. So you go back to the center. I like that. It's right in the center of the card. Be still. Be still. Be still. You don't listen to all this other noise around you. Be still. Because things are going to work out. If you're centered, things are going to work out. So everybody says, well, what about this? You go, you know it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. To remind you just to be still. Don't give in to all this distraction. Oh, I can't go to class today because of the dog. Be still. Go to class. Because it's the right thing to do. So sometimes people would ask, as I was training, even 20 years, I was so consistent. How do you do that? I just do it. They have it on a t-shirt. Just do it. It's the same thing as be still. Just do it. Don't listen to all these other excuses, all this other noise that's going on in your head. Be still. So it's a beautiful card, well made, well thought of. Because like I said, it was right in the center. And anyway, I was really grateful. I was an unexpected gift in the mail that she sent me. She goes, I thought you'd like this. Yeah, it goes right with our training, very much. So how do you use these principles off the mat? Because you're off the mat more than you're on the mat. You have to ask yourself. And that's what James Wood Sensei was saying. If you don't ask questions, if you don't contemplate, let's see, during the middle of the day, how am I feeling? Why do I feel so upset? What happened today? I gotta find my center again. You gotta go back to your center. You don't want to stay like that for the whole rest of the day because it affects your day. So let's say somebody is having an off day at work, and obviously they're taking it out on everybody. You can see it. You're just observing it. So what's a good response to that? To make him realize he's off-centered. Okay? Well, I see you're having an off day, and you're entitled to have an off day, but you're not entitled to include me in your off day. What is that telling you? It's telling you, hey, you're overextending yourself. You're not going to overextend in my day by treating me like this. It's a really diplomatic way to say, you're not entitled to include me in your off day. And it makes a lot of sense. So I like that. So sometimes we don't know what to say, but that's, it tells you a lot just in that context of words. Yes, you have the right to speak, okay? Everybody has a right to their opinion, correct? You can't say, no, you can't say that, no. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But you don't have a right to subject me to your opinion. You can't force that opinion on me. You don't have a right to subject me. You have a right to your opinion. So that's Aikido. That's how you would use it verbally, if you didn't know that. If somebody says, I don't think you can do this, I don't think you can do this test, I don't think you're ready, maybe somebody might say that to you, you're getting ready for a test. What's a good answer? It's not that I'm not capable, I just haven't accomplished it yet. Okay, what are we saying? You don't know what I'm capable of. I don't even know what I'm capable of because I haven't done it yet. I don't know what I can accomplish yet. You can't see that far down the light. But don't let somebody say, I don't think you can do this. And if you give in and you listen to those words, what happens to your self-esteem? It goes down because somebody told you, I don't think you can do this. Oh, maybe I can't. So the self-doubt moves in right away. But you have to claim that center and say, it's not that I'm not capable, I just haven't accomplished it yet. So you claimed your center.
And don't underestimate that power too, because every time, if someone says something negative to you and you accept it, there goes a little rewiring in your brain that says, wonk wonk, right? And then all of a sudden, that becomes your own self-perception too.
Yes.
But it's not even, that's not true reality. It's a reality you can create, and you're allowing somebody else to create it for you, but it's not true. So it's very important to deflect those things off. And also, someone comes to you, oh, they're having an off day, you might just ask them, I feel like you're having an off day, what can I do to help make your day better? This is yin yang, right? Because now I'm going to compliment what's going on there, right?
So everything starts with a thought. Thoughts turn into words. Words turn into actions. actions turn into habit. Habit turns into your character. If you keep practicing, your character becomes your destiny. So you can't allow people to create your destiny of who you are. It's your path. You create it. It's your canvas or your tapestry. You create it every day. You have that power to create who you want to be, what you want to be, what you want to do. Not because, here's a good example. This is years ago. I went to my chiropractor and I told her I was going to speak to the women at the World Trade Center. It was domestic violence. And she immediately told me this. She goes, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because those husbands might get mad at you." And I was just listening to her, and I was listening to her. And I said, she goes, because my husband and I used to do that, but then somebody told me, this is like a virus, isn't it, negativity, that we shouldn't do that. So now we do something else, like I think they help, maybe homeless people. And I said, did you hear what you just told me? Her fear became your fear, but I'm not going to accept your fear. And I went ahead and talked to them, and I'm glad I did. Because yes, if I can make a difference talking to somebody, I'm not going to stop because somebody said, don't do that. So it's like a virus, fear. It's passed on, but you have to go, wait a minute, what feels right and what feels good when you make a decision? What feels right? That's how you find out who you are. Am I going to do whatever somebody wants me to do, or do I stand up for what I want to do? That's how you use your center off the mat. You use it here. Physically, what are you learning? You're learning redirection. You're learning to stay calm when something is coming at you. Think about 3 people, 4 people coming at you. Well, you can't stand there and let them knock you down. They always said, be like water. Go around them. Don't look at the bodies. Go in and out. Go around them, but keep moving. Blend, blend, blend. So, internalization begins with, you have to go within internalization. This is an internal part. And you need to take time to do self-talking. You need to, at the end of the day, they say, okay, let's see, how did I handle this or this? And kind of observe how you're doing, how you responded to certain things. Remember, and I'll end this with this thought. It's not what people are doing to you, it's how you're responding to it. You can't use that victim mentality and say, yeah, but they did this to me and they did that to me. Well, you never grow because you're blaming somebody else. We're teaching you, this is not a victim mentality. It's not part of the higher design in life. We're teaching you, if somebody sees 4 people charging 1 person, they're going, wait a minute, how are you going to do this? Look at the odds. Well, if you have a victim mentality, you don't have any odds. They're just going to take it. They're going to take over. But we don't teach you that victim mentality. No, we teach you there's another way to this. There's another way.